going on, a question was asked, well, actually the statement was made by somebody, well, I guess we can forget pay raises this year. And what I said was, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to figure out if we can do something, because our employees deserve some recognition, and they have rising costs, and we'll see what we can do. So we started with the premise we were going to try to do something, and here's what we did. We invested, as you know, I think you know, every full-time employee at the university received $1,000 across the board base adjustment. Not a one-time bonus, but an adjustment to your base salary. That represented $1,300,000. We had about 1,300 employees. In addition to that, we hired a national firm the year before last to look at our classified positions for both exempt and non-exempt positions. The university has a classified structure with grades 1 through 10 are market level positions, but the others are graded by category based on job description, skills, and all that. The folks that came in and did that study were from the Siegel group, and what they determined was that our classification system, salary structure based on the region where we draw from, was 23% below scale that they believed it would need to be up to par. And so we made the commitment, and the Board of Regents supported this. Last year we made the first adjustment to that salary structure. We put $350,000 into it last year. And this year I said we're going to do it again, because it's, you know, it's what you all need, what we need to keep this place going, keep our people competitive. So $350,000 went to the second year of the Siegel study, and next year we'll make another 8% adjustment, another $350,000. And that'll get us up to right in the middle of the pack for classified positions in this part of the country. Faculty and librarians received money for promotions, career ladders, reclassifications, and those kinds of things. There was about $400,000 that went into that work. In addition, we set aside $362,000, which is a 10% buffer, anticipating we might have an adjustment to our health insurance mid-year in January. So I'm not saying we won't pass any of that on to you. We likely will pass on some, but we put a buffer in there. So we probably would pass it all on to you. And we also were required to put $250,000 into the Kentucky retirement system as a required match. All of that together represents about 60% of the new revenue in this budget. That's all on our people. You're the beneficiaries of all of that. And we did some of that we were required to do, but most of what I described we elected to do. We elected to take it to the Board of Regents and say this is what we think is right for our people, and they approved it as it was presented. So in addition to the personnel things we did, we also made some investments in operating. Now, you're thinking, well, how did we do this? The state took $2.7 million. We did a lot of internal reorganization and moving money from places that we deemed less important than others. And we shifted dollars to places that we thought were more important. And then, of course, there was a tuition increase, and I'll talk about that as well. Anytime you raise tuition, the cost of financial aid to the student goes up. We covered those rising costs. So if a student is on scholarship and their tuition is paid, that tuition in the fall, even higher than it was last year, is covered. Now, when I came here, that wasn't the case. The system didn't work that way. A student got a presidential scholarship. The first year, they got full tuition, but the next year, if tuition went up, they had to pay the difference. And we quit doing that. The first year I was here was the last year we did that. We have been incrementing our scholarships. I mean, if you say to a student you got a full ride, I think we have an obligation, to be honest, to stay with the full ride. I hope you're pleased that we're doing that. The second thing we did was we allocated $250,000 to the Eagle Access Fund. We instituted that last year. The Eagle Access Fund is a scholarship that fills the gap between the average cost of attendance at the university and what our neediest students get in federal and state aid. So if a student gets a Pell Grant, a little bit of keys, and there is a gap between what they receive in aid and what the cost of attendance is at Morehead, and they have documented financial need up to 125% of the poverty level will cover that gap. Last year, I think we only put about $80,000 into it, but it was our first year. We anticipate, based on our analysis of the data, that it could cost as much as $250,000. So we've budgeted for that. When I came here, the graduate student stipend was $5,000. Everybody said, when I went around and talked to all the departments, people said, we've got to do something, we can't attract graduate students. So the first year we boosted it to $6,000. Last year we were unable to put any money into it, but this year we've added $122,000. There are 122 graduate students on campus that are funded, and we have funded them. So the graduate student stipend this year will be $7,000. And that's still not as competitive as it needs to be. We need to get up to $8,000, $9,000, maybe $10,000 over time, but we're working on it, and I want you to know we've put money there as well. This budget, we've covered the rising costs for fuel, for insurance, fixed costs to the tune of $900,000. Now, we spent last winter, because of a failed emissions system on our coal-fired boilers, we had to burn natural gas last winter. It costs 2.5 times more money to heat this power plant with natural gas than it does with coal. You know, we could argue or debate coal or no coal, but the reality is it is a good fuel source for central heating plants. And it can be done efficiently and environmentally safely with the right equipment. So we're going to have the right equipment this year. We were the only public college or university that received a state-funded project for a capital project. This was $5.7 million to rebuild our environmental control systems on this power plant. That work has been led, that work will be underway this fall, and our expectation is come heating season, we'll be back in business to burn coal and do it in an environmentally responsible way. That, by the way, is an example of some really good work that bridges two administrations. As the Fletcher administration was going out, we said to them, the people in the finance cabinet, we got a serious problem with our heating plant, help us. They said, we'll help you. When the Bashir administration came in, we talked to the Fletcher people, this is a serious problem, help us, and they said, we'll help you. And they did put it in the budget, and we received that money. We would have spent $5.7 million one way or the other. We were planning to borrow the money if we had to do that. We have put additional money into funding faculty searches so we can do a good job of attracting quality people. We're attending to accreditation needs. You know, we're getting ready for SACS reaccreditation in a couple of years, and so we're starting the work, laying the groundwork to do all that as well. So those are just some examples of the infusion of dollars into the operating budget, even in a difficult time. And we can't stop progress just because we've got a difficult budget. We also have made in this budget some investments in capital things. For example, the students voted in the spring of '05 to build a new recreation center. They voted that they would pay for it. And yet we've been fussing, trying to get, first, we got it on the list, the capital projects list, and in that session, it never got out of session. It didn't get approved as an agency-funded project. One that we would pay for was student tuition. Yeah, it was a political problem. The next year, it was a political problem. This session, it finally came out. I guess they threw a bone over the wall and said, you can have this one. It didn't cost the state government anything. It cost us the money. So we budgeted in this budget $550,000 as part of the debt service to plan to build a rec center. We're going to break ground for that by the end of this fall term or early spring. $30 million facility to be built up behind Regents Hall up on the hill below Eagle Lake Apartments. We're in the process of renovating residence halls. None hall is offline this year. Principally, those are funded with money that we accrue in the agency accounts from rents that are paid by students, but there's not really enough money to do everything we need to do, so we budgeted an additional amount of money to begin to work on Alumni Tower. So we're going to finish Nunn Hall. It'll go back online. Alumni Tower will come offline. Next year, when we finish that renovation, we start into the Manon complex. Now, what are we doing? Heating, ventilating, air conditioning, electrical systems, amenities, basic things that will improve the look and the feel and the quality of what the students have in those residence halls. Really important for the 21st century.